Today, you're going to meet Tracy Astle, founder of Nourishing Body and Soul, as she shares her W.H.O.L.E, that's whole method, which helps women break free from the culture, the diet culture. Die with a cross at the end is what I call it, the diet culture. Embrace peace with food and find joy in their God-given worth. Let's go now, okay? But first, good, beautiful day, you beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating, especially you. But first, we're going to do a 22-second mini vacation. We're going to have a little breathing session to calm our spirits. Be still and know. So we're going to breathe in calm for 7 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and breathe out gratitude for 11 seconds. So let's go. Here we go. Breathe in some calm. Hold. Relax, release. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow. Welcome today, Tracy. I'm so grateful for you to be here with me and with us and share this bountiful wisdom you have and the stories that you have and how we're going to help people and how we are helping people. But first, just tell me a little bit about who you are in this world and talk about what you do and how you serve and how to find you.
All right. Well, thanks, Charlie. I really appreciate you and what you do. You have such an effervescence and a light about you, and it's such a pleasure to spend time with you. So thanks so much for this chance to be with you and have this conversation. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just like you, talk with interesting people. And so I'm happy to be here, happy to do this. As you mentioned, my company name is Nourishing Body and Soul. So what I'm about is really claiming that life and creating that life that nourishes us on every level. How I came to do this was as most of my adult life. I'm a mother and a wife, and homeschooled my kids for several years, and all of that kind of thing. Supported my husband was a contractor, and so I supported him in our family business and all of those kind of things, going to church and serving in the community and all of that. And with a smile on my face, and I've always been an optimist since the day I've been born. But still with all of that, there's kind of this underlying feeling of not quite being good enough, that somehow God must have been disappointed in me because of all of my shortcomings and the way that, we all have this is the ideal, and we know that we live here. And that gap really was something I struggled with for quite a while. And one of the big ways that it showed up for me was that really no matter what size I was, what size my body was, there was always something to fix. Always something to fix. And that's something that we're taught culturally. And I didn't realize how much of that was culture and how much of that was lies until I really started doing this work. I used to live thinking, as I went from diet to diet, thinking, I really just want to get to the point where, God created this body. I should be able to just eat whatever I want, whenever I want, not meaning like, all the stuff all the time, but just know that my body was asking for what it needed. But with diet culture's input, I'm thinking, well, that's just a pie in the sky idea. It's ridiculous. That's not really truth. That's just what I wish, but that's not how it is. And then I saw this video one day that talked about that kind of body trust and about body wisdom. And it's the first time I'd ever heard that term. And so I went, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I think. This is exactly what I've been hoping for. And so, of course, I binged all of their content. Well, that video was from the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. And so I ended up getting my certification there from them, and then have made it my mission to kind of go in through the door of our relationship with food in our body. But really, it's about the wholeness of a person. The wholeness. I specifically work with Christian women. I will work with other people, but who I mainly like to work with and who I mainly work with are Christian women, because I feel like so many of us have this understanding that we're a daughter of God, But even with that understanding, too much the understanding lives here and it doesn't live here. It's like, okay, well, you, Charla, it's easy for me to see that you're a daughter of God and see all the ways that you manifest that in your life. But me, when I look at me, what I see is that I'm yelling at my kids and I'm not being as faithful as I know that I can be. And I'm not serving as much as my community. And I see all the lack. And that's such an inaccurate lens. And I think that culturally, the expectations that are placed on women and specifically on how women look and what we're expected to do, there's a lot of lies and inaccuracy there.
You're so on target there. I do want to remember, most people will probably not watch and probably will listen in podcasts in the future. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I want to just point out, you pointed to your head and you said here and not here. So you went head and heart. It was head first and heart second. So I'm pretty sure that would have been pretty intuitively gotten. Yeah. But so I forget sometimes because we're on the Zoom, right? And we're
keep the audio
looking at each other. So so that's just a little piece to try to remember, especially like spelling names and all that kind of stuff. So we got Tracy Astle, Tracy Astle and Tracy Astle, Tracy at TracyAstle.com. TLAstle.com is your
that's my email. My website is NourishingBodySoul.com.
NourishingBodySoul.com. There's all over the place they can find you, and we'll put more of that in as we go. But
if you Google search my name, my website comes up, and my LinkedIn, which is where I'm most active on social media. But I am on Facebook and Instagram, but not as much as on LinkedIn. But that all comes up if you just type in my name.
Awesome sauce. Yeah. Tracy Astle. I said, was it Astle like castle or Astle like or Astle like castle? Yes. We've been silly earlier. Anyway, so no, I think you're onto something so incredibly huge. And years ago, I started noticing, when the introduction of high fructose corn syrup and then the introduction of these artificial packets, little artificial sweeteners, nobody's skinnier or healthier since those things came out, and artificial fats and all that kind of stuff. So nobody is getting healthier and thinner because of that. And they're bypass. And I read an article decades ago now that they're bypass your body's. Your body thinks you're not getting anything. And so it stores everything. Yeah. And so when it's a flight attendant, Tab and Fresca came out, and and it's like, I just instinctually have been on this path for oleomargarine. When my mom was cooking in the 50s, and they started, we're gonna, calories. That was a new concept back then too. So it's all been kind of eased into us while we're adding all this artificial stuff. We're also removing all the good stuff. Now you can't have salt, you can't have sun, you can't have eggs, what have they done? And what have we've sucked into, and how we don't know. We didn't know any better, right?
Yeah. And then very much taught. Go ahead.
And I'm just going to say that I said diet with a cross at the end. When Diet Coke came out, the best marketing branding name I've ever seen, I think. But I call it die with a cross at the end. I do believe all those artificial things are they're killing us and causing the inflammation and causing all these other issues. So we're not healthier because our farmlands and all that are not either. So sorry,
and that's just so much a part of it, but it's not even all of it. We're talking along with all of those artificial foods that have been introduced. We're also conditioned to have this list of good foods and bad foods. And food in and of itself has no moral value. There are many different religions or different diets that have food protocol that they follow. My daughter-in-law is because of health issues that she has. She eats a keto diet and feels so much better when that's how she's eating. But if she's doing this keto diet and it's helping her body feel better, does that mean that bread is bad? That's not what it means at all. It means her body doesn't respond nicely to it, so it's something that she's not going to want to have much of. And so it's just this whole, we get ingrained with this good food, bad food. And when we get ingrained with that, then what happens if we eat the bad food, then we feel like a bad person. And it just is all so tied together.
The psychology, oh my goodness. And I'm so grateful that you're bringing all that up, because I've known this for a long time too. I just like, it's not all or nothing. And people that are doing all or nothing and I can't do that. And this, I believe that has caused so much of our angst and anxiety over the years here. Because I know, this is a big deal. I shouldn't be eating this, but I'm going to eat it anyway. Chomp, 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 chomp. And then and then you're eating and living with shame and and guilt and what I have been saying this a lot lately. And I know you and I had a conversation quite some time, but I've started offering this word of savor. If you're going to eat it, don't do it with shame and guilt. Enjoy it. Savor it. Give it go, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful for this. And what if we slowed down and started savoring our food? And whether it's a donut or a steak or whatever you desire, God gives you the desires of your heart. If you desire something, I believe that you will be your perfect and a better weight if you quit focusing on it. About 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I put a number in my head. Was pushing up the weight, right? And then I had a number in my head that I wanted to get to. And I didn't do anything different, but I could see myself at that number. I'm within probably 5 or 8 pounds of that without doing anything differently. I do believe we can ask, believe, expect, and receive. And so I wasn't weighing all the time. I just had this. This is what I'd like. Thank you. You said we can do what you did and even more in John 14:12. This isn't about religion, by the way. My show isn't Christian or religion or it's faith. It's faith and conversation and what we believe, right? So there's nothing wrong. But I was surprised, not necessarily surprised, but I was kind of happy that all of a sudden clothes that I wasn't able to wear, I was able to wear, and I've still got way to go. But I'm not dieting, and I just eat what I kind of feel like eating.
And that's body wisdom, as opposed to, okay, here's my body. It's something that I have to fix. That is the diet and fitness industry. I'm not against fitness by any stretch of the imagination. So let's not interpret this that way. But the toxic fitness industry, there's healthy fitness and there's toxic fitness. And the diet and the toxic fitness industry really teach this: your body is something to be fixed. It's something to be fixed. Your weight is a problem. Your size is a problem. Your weakness is a problem. The way you eat is a problem. These are problems to be fixed. And then we get in this, okay, well then this is what I have to do. We set up these rules that we have to follow. And then that's where we learn to start not trusting our bodies and trusting ourselves, but trusting this diet that I'm doing, trusting this exercise plan, trusting that expert or that expert. And the story you just told really exemplifies body wisdom. The whole idea of weight, because that's another thing where diet culture is really, really, and fitness culture too, toxic fitness, has really warped our ideas of what is healthy in weight. Because Honestly, I have right now. I am living in a bigger body, but my labs are all good, and I exercise regularly, and I'm continually nourishing my body in different ways, finding things that feel the best for my body. And but we get this idea because culturally we're taught that no, that's not right, that's not good. And so your intuition about where you wanted your body to be, that, and then just letting it go. That's listening to body wisdom. And when we do that, whether our bodies end up smaller than we expected or larger than we expected or exactly the size we expected, we know that we're where our body needs to be. And that's just not an attitude that's taught. We're taught that our bodies are a problem that we need to fix, and it's our job to fix them, and we owe it. And I want to circle back to what you're talking about, taking pleasure and savoring food, because that's such a key thing. People hear that, and that spikes fear. It's like, oh my gosh, if I just let myself eat what I want, I will never stop eating. I will never stop eating. And there's no way I can do that. And when I first learned about, you mentioned slowing down and savoring, those are such important things because we're also kind of taught that. How many times have you heard somebody say, oh, this is just a guilty pleasure when I eat this or do that? That's a guilty pleasure. Like, or we have cheat days on the food that it's like, so all these negative things that are attached to that. And so pleasure can be one of them. It's like, oh, I can't take pleasure with food because then, man, I'll just be out of control. Well, when I first started learning about this and slowing down with food and really savoring it, something that I had and emotional eating is a big thing that's talked about too. And I had such an emotional attachment to ho-hos. And from when I was a kid, that just, all different kinds of things were attached to ho-hos. It just was such a comfort food. It attached me to really good memories and really good times that carried over into triggers as an adult of when I would want a ho-ho. And intellectually, I know this is not the best food for my body, but I still wanted it anyway. And that's where I was having that disconnect talked about earlier. But then I thought, okay, if I'm going to have a ho-ho, I'm going to just slow down. I'm really going to love the heck out of this ho-ho. And so I bought the ho-hos one day, they come in a 2 or 3 pack, and I sat down and I peeled off the chocolate and I ate that chocolate slowly and I smelled it before I ate it. And then I unrolled the little cake like we do anyway in my family. And I ate that slowly. And I'm really trying to take pleasure in this. And what I realized was I really don't even like ho-hos. That chocolate is nothing but wax. It doesn't really have a good flavor. That cake is so dry. And really, what even is that cream? It's not, it's supposed to be whipped cream. It's not cream. It's something. And I thought, this is so disgusting. Flavor-wise and texture, it was really like not even, I don't really like it. It was like, this is gross. Why do I like this? And then I was able to go, oh, because it's attached to these feelings from childhood. And so now, but where before with diet mentality, I would be fighting against, I shouldn't have that ho-ho, I should not eat it. This is a bad thing to eat. But now listening to my body, it's like, I really don't even want that. And now what happens is every now and then I'll have the thought, man, I really want a ho-ho. And I know immediately, wait a minute, I don't want the ho-ho. What is it that I want? And I can be so much more in touch with myself. And then I can fill that need like that. And so when we fall into the fear of, oh my gosh, I can't let myself eat whatever I want, or I'm going to go crazy, that often is exactly the opposite of what happens. Because what keeps us wanting it is us telling ourselves we can't have it. A lot of that plays into it. It's not the only thing, but it plays into that.
I am so glad you told the ho-ho story because you told me that before. And I'm going to relate it to someone that has, I think it's not just food, but there's a dog that they had as a child, and and then they lost their parents, and then they had a list. So this dog is that we have now. Is such an hassle. It's just not an easy. Everything has to center around this animal. Mm-hmm. And it's exhausting. And I believe that that's a similar psychology to something that just this is the same kind of dog I had, and I've got to keep him. But it's very inconvenient for everybody. So I just think that it's not just the food side of things, but that story when you told before reminded me or made me think about this situation, and perhaps maybe we can address it from that angle sometime. So, but I wanted, I was a flight attendant for 34 years, and flight attendants are, in the, we're the ones behind at the dinner party behind the curtain,
And you also, as a flight attendant, have to be very conscious of your weight.
Not anymore. So back in when I was, my weight max, my maximum weight and we had to weigh in every 3 months. And if you didn't meet it, you had to weigh in every month. And people were terrified of that. I never got close to my max until I got pregnant, but 127 at 5'5" was my maximum. 127 and no problems for me back in the day, young days, 20s. So I'm not so certain that the weight restrictions were all bad. Just
well, I mean, it's understandable when you're on a plane, you have to know how much weight's on the plane. So it's understandable, but
you have to maneuver down the aisles. There's a lot to it. And so we don't have, when they got rid of the weight restrictions, it was a great relief for a lot of people. But I'm just saying, but the culture back then, it was before the artificial stuff started really being let out there, but wastes got much bigger just because of what we talked about in the beginning, I think partly. But I think what you're so spot on that. And when you say it's just the opposite, it literally, if you really want, you really want that ho-ho, at that moment, you could go, I give myself permission to have the ho-ho, even though I know I don't really like it, but you'll probably take a bite and, you give yourself permission. And back in the day, when I lost, after my third child, I ended up losing 50 pounds. And I had a mindset shift that instead of, it's similar to what we were talking about, instead of like, am I going to regret eating this? I shifted that. And am I going to regret this? Or I projected to the next day. Tomorrow, will I care that I had that yesterday? Tomorrow, it won't matter at all to me. So why have it now? It was just kind of a mind game I played with myself. Don't know that I've ever heard anybody else talk about it like that, but I was able to project and then go, nah. And I also had another trick that, working on first class on international flights, they've got some good stuff up there. And back in the day, we served meals every, leg. So from when I was working and flying, I would say, they would say, hey, they'd call back to the back gal, hey, y'all want an ice cream sundae? We got leftovers. And I would go, I would say, no. I automatically had a no. And then I would go, I'd give myself 30 minutes. And if I thought I wanted it, then I would go up to first class. This, it was a lot of years ago when we actually served food. And I would take out a spoonful of the ice cream, and I'd pour coffee on it, make a little treat out of it, and rewarded myself. And if I wanted it, and most of the time by that 30 minutes, I didn't even care anymore. So those are just some of my personal tricks that I did in the past. The 3 times I lost 50 pounds.
That brings up something too, that when we give ourselves that permission like that, that's a lot of the battle, and can be a hard thing to do when we've been conditioned otherwise, and we've lived a lot of years in a different mindset. But when we do that, that also frees us up to go, okay, I do want this ice cream. I'm going to have this ice cream. And then we take a bite and we go, oh, that was good. I'll have another. And we take another bite and it's like, okay. And that was enough. That was all I wanted. And it's so much easier to walk away My daughter-in-law, I was just visiting recently with them. They live in another state, and we were talking about. She had offered something, and I said, "Oh no, I'm good." I think it was a Haagen-Dazs ice cream bar. I'm like, "No, I'm good." And she's like, "You're so good at that. You've always been so good at that." Or just like walking away from food. And I said, "Hold up. I have not always been good at this. I'm not natural at this. This is something that's something that's changed in me." And to when we're restricting ourselves and thinking, "I shouldn't have the ice cream, I shouldn't have the ice cream, I shouldn't have the ice cream," then when we do, it's like, well, I blew it now, so I'm just going to have all the ice cream. I'm going to finish this whole ice cream sundae. And it's that kind of mindset, because it's like when we set that hard line, if we go past the line, well, we've gone past it. So if we've gone back by an inch or by 10 miles, whatever, we're still past the line. And it's that, again, that's some of the psychological things that come into play. Whereas when we just give ourselves permission, it's so much easier to just go, you know what, actually, that doesn't really sound good right now. Or, man, that sounds wonderful. And take a bite and then assess, okay, did that do what I wanted? I got the flavor in my mouth, got the texture in my mouth, it was awesome. If I have more of this, am I going to keep thinking it's awesome, or I'm going to cross over into the, I didn't need that much of that. And we really are listening to ourselves more instead of listening to the rules that we've set up more.
I love that. Yeah, it's like I did it. I remember many times, well, I've blown it today. Might as well keep blowing it. I'll try again. I'll start again tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm going to start on Monday or whatever it happened to be. I did do the lemonade diet for 3 times. If you're familiar with that, it's just lemon and cayenne pepper and maple syrup and lemon juice. And anyway, I think that's it. I did it for 14 days once. I did it for 15 days once, and I did it for 21 days one time, where I did nothing but that. And it was more like a fast in a way on the last time. But it was like the night before, I was like, there's no way I can do that. But I did. And I would wake up and I'd go, just for today, just for now, just for now, just for now. And I stayed on that thing for a while. And it was fine. I didn't have, the hard part was on an international flight where most of the first class cabin didn't show up, and there was so much amazing good food. And often they'd have nuts sitting there, and you just walk, anyway, as a crew in the galley, and it was like, oh, that was tricky.
Yeah.
But I chose. It's a choice. This is a choice right now, whether I just scarf it all down or whether I have some discernment around it. I would really just think, what would I really like? And when I would go, another trick I had, and I don't know where all this has come from now. I remember before I would, if I was going to go out to eat with the crew or whatever, if I was going to go out to eat and I knew, I would go, okay, I would decide ahead of time basically what I was going to have. And I would decide ahead of time that the company was the treat. The conversation was the treat. And I would, I might order a chicken breast and one glass of wine or whatever it was, but I would think ahead, so I didn't, because I'm usually in a restaurant, oh, what do I really want? What do I really want? What really, so I think that we can do, I haven't done that in a long time. I think it's a good idea. Go back to that.
Well, and it's kind of, it's just really interesting to me, because we can do that. We can do the thinking ahead. Okay, well, I'm going to this restaurant. I'm going to be strategic because I know how I am in a restaurant. I'm going to get there and I'm going to go, eat in a way that I know I really don't want to eat, but because of the environment, I'm probably going to eat that way. And so we know ourselves, and we know that it's going to be smarter to choose ahead of time. But then also for somebody else, it may be like that could feel like a restriction. And so maybe the better choice for them is to not decide ahead of time, to go to the restaurant, to decide there, because they need to learn to trust themselves in that situation. And either they make the choice that they're happy with, or they make a choice they're not as happy with and go, okay, so then why did I do that? And it's just this whole, I talk often about, instead of putting on our judge's robe and go, I should not have done that, I know that I should, and then put on a scientist's lab coat instead and look at it with experimentation, not even if you're not even creating the experiment, but just about, okay, what can I observe from this? What can I observe? And just take in the data, take in the data. And that way, that really teaches us to learn to trust ourselves. And so, I mean, again, that trust can look at so many different ways. It can look like deciding ahead of time what you're going to have, because I trust myself to know now in this moment, this is going to be what I'm going to make my best choice. And so I'm going to make that choice now. Or it can be, you know what, I have to learn to be able to just be out in the wild and you know, faced with opportunities and decide at that moment what's best for me. I need to learn to trust myself in that situation. So it's going to be better for me to go there and decide there and see what happens. And then afterward go, hey, that was awesome, because you know, I still I chose the chicken breast and the steamed vegetables instead of the mega nachos, you know, or whatever. And so we can, or, oh man, I went for the nachos again. It was nothing but at that restaurant, just grease and fat. And I don't feel good now because I ate too much of the nachos. Why did I do that? And then we can learn about ourselves and we can learn about how our psychology, our relationship with food and our body is, and then we can start honing in on really closing that gap and doing what really is best for us on all levels, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all of it. But it's just, you know, we don't need to be judging ourselves in the meantime. We were not born perfect, and we're not meant to be perfect in this life, so.
No, and I think I just feel like our society has put these huge burdens on our expectations on how we should look and all those things from the, you know, back in the day, the Barbie doll, even when I was little, and the thing. So I want to go into that, but I also want to ask the whole W.H.O.L.E. You've got the whole method, and you've got a couple of we might as well talk about it, the books and the things that you offer. But what does whole stand for?
The whole method is, again, creating your whole life in a way that nourishes you. The W is for wisdom, for tuning into your body wisdom, tuning into the wisdom of God, and accessing that in this situation. The H is healing with hope. That recognizing that when our relationship with either with food in our body, or it just in general, if we just have those feelings of being not enough, or have those feelings of being too much, I'm just too much. People tell me all the time I need to calm down and be quiet, whatever. If we have those feelings of being too much or not enough, that's something that needs to be healed. And so the healing through hope. And then the O is oneness, being at one, finding a way to be at one within ourselves, to be at one with God. And then that spreads out into being able to be at one with others. I find it so interesting that in the scriptures, we have so few examples of where Christ prayed and we know the words that he said. And one of the examples, and the longest example, is in John 17. And it was his last prayer with his disciples. So it's like, okay, this is a big moment. This is a big prayer. And we have the words that he said. 3 times in that one prayer, he said either that they may be one or something similar to that wording. That idea of unity, of being one with God, being and Christ, and being one within ourselves and being one with each other, is something that's so important, that kind of unity. And then the L is for love and grace, and learning to really not just know about God's love, but to really feel it on a deep and daily basis, to understand what his grace is and what it does, be able to extend that grace to ourselves the way that he does, and then also to extend that grace to other people, because often when we're making changes, it's easy to go, oh, well, if we're talking about food and body, it's like, well, I used to eat like that too, and kind of make other people wrong for how they eat. And that's not the deal. Just give grace to people to be on the path that they're on and interact the way that, with the people that are in our path in the way that feels the most loving. So that love and that grace. And then E is evolving, because even when we make these changes, we're not finished. And that's not a problem, it's a promise. So that idea of evolving, and just that, to me, is so freeing to think that my goal is not to arrive. My goal is to keep growing. And that just takes away so much of the pressure of feeling like I have to do this way. I have to arrive at something. I don't have to arrive. I just need to keep growing. So
I really
wisdom,
love that.
healing, oneness, love, and evolving.
Whoa. Say that again because I interrupted you.
Oh, wisdom, healing, oneness, love, and evolving.
Perfect. Wow. We all need that. And I'm so, loving yourself. I just think our culture has tried to keep us, unlovable, and there's much more to talk about with that. But I'm going to take a mini moment right here to talk about my beloved Zenzino, my
one of the ways that you nourish and nurture yourself.
Yeah, let me just tell you, we're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back with more with Tracy Astle. I'm taking a mini moment to share about cell health. One of the most important pieces in our body. Are your cells hard and crunchy? Are they soft and malleable? Let me tell you, if they're hard and crunchy, the nutrients can't get in and out. And if they're soft and squishy and malleable, the nutrients can. So when you have good, soft, malleable cells, you have better brain function, hair quality, heart function, skin elasticity, inner organs are better, and your joints and muscles are better. Whoop, see that? But like 99% of North Americans, we're out of balance in our omega-3 to omega-6. Test, don't guess. We've got a test. It will absolutely give you your results on a full scale test of your balance. You need to be 3 to 1 or better, like 99% of North Americans are not. So we've got a simple solution. 1 second shot of beautiful golden omega-3 oil a day. Test, don't guess. Now back to the show. And thank you. So we're back, and charlaanderson.com/Zenzino, Zinzino. And I'm just going to cheers, take some oil, take my dose of omegas right now. It's amazing because they reduce inflammation and almost every other disease. So we want that, don't you? So thanks, Tracy, for the break here. And I think something that we touched on, but perhaps I feel like body image and the media and the expectations, and I think so much of that has evolved, and I'm not so sure in a positive way, because if there's the nutrient, we have to have I don't want to offend anybody. My people, I love you so much. Whatever you do is great. If God is love, he can't be not love. And that's my message, unconditional love. So if you're listening to this is not about judgment, but it is an opinion that I've witnessed as we've gone, that the marketing, it's all trying to sell us stuff. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they've tried to create us to look like caricatures or something, with eyelashes that are 10 pounds and painted brows and expanded lips. Why can't we just love ourselves as we are? I wear a touch of makeup, but my mom and I taught makeup for a long time, but I don't wear much. And I want people to go, wow, your eyes are pretty today. I don't want them to go, oh, I love your eye makeup. Right. So it's to enhance, to give you just a little bit of a, I like color. My lips, if I don't have lips, I look, kind of not healthy or something. But very little. I don't, no, very little base makeup and any base and all that stuff. So, and I sold Mary Kay for 16 years. So it was.
Yeah, and that's such a good thing. I'm so glad you brought that up, because it seems like, well, if you go very far down the path of, body acceptance, it means that you just need to accept yourself absolutely the way you are and not want to make any changes and all of that. And that's not really what that is. In their amazing book, the book's name is More Than a Body, and it's by doctors Lindsay and Lexi Kite. So interesting, because they're twins. And if anybody knows about, body comparison, it's twins, and but they talk about this, body neutrality is the term that they use. And I love that term, because what that is, it's like, it's not just about, and when I say body, I mean body and beauty related. It's not about if you're body neutral, does that mean that you're never going to want to wear makeup because you're just going to accept your body the way it is? You're never going to want to eat differently because you're just fine. It's not that. It's that somebody had asked me one time, it's like, so, well, what about makeup? So why, is it a problem that people wear makeup? I'm like, no, not at all. When it becomes a problem is when you're doing it because you feel like you have to, because it's an insecurity thing, because there's a certain way that you need to look, then that's not coming from a healthy place. And I want to be very careful with this, because it's such a personal thing. And when I say, when you feel like there's a certain way you need to look, well, if you're an actor, you have a certain way that you have to look for that role. And so, yeah, of course. But sometimes we get in our head that this is what a manager at a business looks like. And so therefore that's what I need to look like. And that's a slippery slope to be on. Wearing makeup can be a form of just self-expression, and that's a very cool thing. And not just makeup, but how we dress. That's a very cool thing to be able to use this as, like this shirt that I chose to wear, this necklace, this way that I do my makeup and my hair. It's a way that I like to express myself. That's one thing. That's a completely different thing than, oh my gosh, I can't go. Well, I'll share a story about this. A friend of mine, this is years ago, she always looked really put together. And that was really lovely. I mean, it's like, go her. Always didn't go outside without her makeup done, her hair done, and, good for her. But then I was in our church at the time. I was the president of the women's organization, and it was just really on my heart that I needed to stop by and see her. And she just needed, she was doing okay. It wasn't like she was going through any major thing, but I felt like she just needed to know that God was aware of her in her day to day, and just stop by and say, I love you, how you doing? So I went to her door, knocked on the door, and her son answered. And he said, oh, just a minute. So he goes, leaves, then he comes back a few minutes later, and he says, she can't come to the door right now. She doesn't have her makeup on. And it broke my heart that for her in that moment, I knew from my end, I was there simply to love her. And that love wasn't received the way that it could have been, because she let that not having her makeup and her hair done be a barrier to that. And I'm not saying that, no judgment against her. That's where she was, and that's fine. But just how many times when we're coming from a place of, oh my goodness, I'm not good enough without my makeup. I'm not good enough without my hair being done. I'm not good enough if I'm dressed this way and not that way. That's when it becomes a problem. So it's like, it's not the thing itself, it's why we're doing it. it's what the psychology is behind it. It's where we are that is what makes a difference about that.
So it kind of has swung, and in some ways, yes and yes, so in some ways, when there's people that have zero care, it seems, by observation, about how they dress and look. So, I think I want to have self-respect. I want to have approval. I put a little bit more makeup on Wednesdays when I do my show, but it's not, I don't, and I nearly always wear something just because I feel better answering the door with a little color or whatever. But if not, oh well. I'm not obsessed about it, and it's just, and has nothing to do with other people's expectations, so to speak, right?
Yeah, and it ties into that, going back to what we talked about much earlier on, about feeling not enough. If we feel like we're not enough without that makeup, if we're not enough without those kind of clothes, then that's an issue.
It becomes our identity. It's who we are, and we've got to have this rigid role of and I just don't. If it takes more than 5 minutes for my makeup, it's way too long. I just don't have them. And really, back in the day, I had 3 kids and I had 3 stepkids, and I was raising and the mission trip mom, the pool party mom, I'm just came to mind. I was Christmas mornings. I had been up all night long wrapping. I'd been up all night, literally, everything. That's a lot of things to wrap, and I'd still be doing it at 3 a.m. and finally just close my eyes for a minute or not. But when those kids got up, I was dressed with my best. I've got my Christmas heels and everything, and they wake up and so the videos back in those days, but it wasn't for anybody else. It's just what I wanted to do. I didn't want to come out in my robe and all that kind of stuff and then have to find a time to get dressed later on in the day. So it was just like easier just to go ahead and get dressed, and then Christmas. So anyway, I just thought of that image of me being completely dressed in my little stockings and my not stock Christmas stockings, my back in the day we were hose, right?
Yes.
And maybe some candy cane hose or whatever. And anyway, it just was something that I felt was important for me, and I just and honestly, it really was, because I didn't know how or when I would ever get around to getting dressed with all that.
And that's such a good example, because for you, that was a wonderful way. It was something that fed your soul, that fed your spirit. For somebody else, it would be like, I think of that and I think, oh my gosh, that just sounds so exhausting. That sounds so exhausting to not only do all of that, but then to make sure that I'm looking good in addition to that. And so it just is really, is it nourishing your soul? Is it a part of the life that you really want, that really is the expression of yourself that you want to have? And so it's not about the yes, do this, no, don't do that. It's about what expresses you. And in order to do that, you have to know yourself very well. And that's just part of the journey.
Yeah, well, I mean, Easter, okay, so we're out there in my heels and my beautiful Easter clothes, with hiding eggs and looking for the eggs, right? So I'm like, and I really had some, a couple of really special new Easter outfits. It was a beautiful silk suit, and I was just a bit, sleeping. And I did say this many, many times, I'll sleep in my next life, because let me just tell you, there was not much. and I still kind of believe that. I've got too much to do, too much life to live, and too much excitement in my joy in my world that I want to, keep learning. I'm a personal development junkie, all those things. So, all that ties in, I guess, but I've evolved. I don't have to do that very many mornings anymore.
Yeah.
Hide the eggs and all that.
Yeah, now our kids get to do that with the grandkids. We do an egg hunt here on our property but it's later in the day, and it's okay, when it's going to work for everybody, and it's certainly not first thing in the morning.
We
So
had to do it before church, I mean, and we went to early church, and it was just like, I don't know what that was all about, but it was a lot.
Well, and that brings up another good thing, about the seasons of life, because there are going to be times where we do have 4,000 things we have to do in a day, because we have this that we have to do for this, this child needs this and that child needs that, or there's this occasion. And, goodness knows, for most of us, if mom doesn't do all the stuff for Christmas, it doesn't get done, that kind of thing. And so there are times and seasons of our life. And again, putting on the lab coat, not the judge's robe. Do I spend more time with my morning devotion time than I did when I had kids in the house? Absolutely. Because I can do that now. I didn't have an hour in the morning to sit in my scriptures and journal carefully and thoughtfully. I didn't have that. Sometimes I did. And some people say, well, just get up an hour before your kids. Well, okay, that's nice in theory, but if you have a child that gets up at 5, that's a little much to get up at 4 when you have another child that stays up all night. And so it's like, we just have giving ourselves grace for the season of life that we're in, and recognizing that this may be the time for this, that may be the time for that, and that's okay.
And grace is the huge word in this judgment. I just love people. I say just love people, and the harder people are to love, the more they need it. And we want to just give grace and look for the win-win and all that kind of stuff. We didn't even mention how we met. Now, Brenda Byers, to prosper in all things, is our mutual connection, our coach. And we've met through her. I don't think I could ever describe the brilliance that she brings, the wisdom to Christian women that want to have successful businesses. I feel like she's masterful, and I'm guessing you feel the same way. I'm going to go ahead and show her book.
Oh, good, because I don't have a hard copy of it yet.
The Total Soul Prosperity. So Total Soul Prosperity. And I read it, and it's only a couple hours. It's a small book. I read it in the Kindle version the day before I got these, and I'm telling you, it's powerful, and it's wisdom condensed. So Prosper in All Things by Brenda K. Byers, Byers. We would really encourage you to get that, and it's a great book for home studies or Bible book clubs or Bible studies and retreats, things like that. What about stocking stuffers? So anyway, I just want to. I'll put the link if I can get it in the descriptions. So we'll have. We love her. I believe that she has added. She overgives more than anybody I know. I think she really has so much brilliance. And
she is passion personified, and the things that she teaches are so powerful
and so effective. Yeah. So she's a coach. If anybody needs a coach, let's talk to either one of us. But I feel like and a mentor as well. So I think that Prosper in All Things is her business. So we just want to acknowledge her and encourage you to check Brenda Byers out. Amazing lady. So we're winding down. It always goes fast, and want you to talk about your the books that you have, or the offers you have, and the coaching you have, and let's get that nailed down so that people can find you easily and get support from you.
I have lots of things that are available for free. I don't have a book yet; that's in the works. But I do have lots of things for free. I have bought a podcast that's on YouTube. That's at the Nourishing Body and Soul channel on YouTube. And there's how many? 50, 60 episodes there. I have on my website, nourishingbodysoul.com. I have over 200 blog posts. So you can check that out there. I'm on Instagram at TL Astle, Nourishing Body and Soul. I am on Facebook and Nourishing Body and Soul, and LinkedIn at Tracy Astle. And so all those lots of ways that, and then I also just have lots of resources that I add, that I give for free. My two most recent ones are how many days did it end up being? I have a three-step program for, it's super simple, for overcoming emotional eating. And it's like an in the moment, do this, when you're heading for those cookies and after work, and you know that it's not what you want, and you know that you're not really hungry, but why are you going? It's what to do in that moment. Three steps. So and then that ties into that will get you as well as getting that tool and helping you overcome that emotional eating in the moment. Will put you on my mailing list, and so they get at least weekly emails there. And then also that ties into specifically, I associate diet culture, I call it the diet culture funhouse, because it's like where you go into the funhouse and it's got all those warped mirrors, and it seems fun and it seems silly and it's very crowded in that funhouse. But really, that's what diet culture is like. It warps our perspective of ourselves. And after a while of being there, we start believing those warped images. And so that I have a specific path for getting out of that diet culture funhouse. And then my newest second free thing that I have is it's 7 days of declarations for when we're feeling like we're not enough or feeling like we're too much, and how to really hone into that we are a daughter of God, wonderfully and fearfully made, and that just 7 declarations to help us really take into not just our head, but our hearts, and then move out to our hands and the things that we do, to help us realize that we're okay. We're enough the way that we are. We hear, oh, you're enough. And sometimes that can be a fearful thing, because but then, no, I'm not, because I'm not perfect and I know what I should be. No, being enough is not the same thing as being perfect. Being enough doesn't mean there's nothing that we ever are going to or ever are going to want to change. That's not the same thing. It means that you're okay. You're on a path, and it's okay. Wherever you are on the path is okay, because Christ meets us where we are. He doesn't demand that we go to where he is before he'll talk to us. He meets us where we are. We're okay. You are okay. You're enough where you are, and you're not finished. And that's not a problem. It's a promise.
I love that. Not a problem, it's a promise. Yes, you're not finished. Of course, we're evolving. And the way I say it, if you can take a breath, wherever you are, you're okay in that moment. In that moment, if you can take a breath, it's when we can't take a breath that we don't have a choice anymore. So where you are is all you have. You might as well love it, because God loves you exactly who and where you are right now. There's nothing you can do to be loved more or less by God and by me. Really, I love people, and it has, people need to know that they're okay, they're perfect, really, right now, because it's all you have. Where else do you have to start from than where you are? So take a deep breath, enjoy your moment, listen to yourself, listen to your body. We do so much on just reaction or habit that we don't slow down to acknowledge and understand that it may not be what we really want. So we just maybe turn off the big black box off the wall and just for a few moments and be still and know, listen. I think that's a lot of our too much noise is really a problem right now in our society.
Absolutely.
And we don't just listen.
Yeah.
Be still. Remember who we are. Remember who we are. Because we are loved. And how can we
Yep.
serve others if we don't have our cup filled right? So we've got to serve out of the full cup.
Yeah.
Or the way I like to say it is cup and a saucer back in the, if you don't know what a saucer is, you
Watch Downton Abbey.
go research saucer, but it's not blind. My daddy would, pour the coffee into the saucer and drink out the saucer to keep, to cool down but
Yeah.
the visual I like about that is when you're pouring into a cup, you're filling yourself until it overflows, and then you serve out of that saucer. You serve out of the overflow.
That's a nice image.
Yeah.
I had a friend too who, not as elegant of an image, but he always said, be a pipe, not a bucket. And it's like, okay, a bucket receives all the blessings, it receives it and it holds it. But a pipe, those blessings still go through it. You still are affected by those blessings, but now you're sharing it with other places. You're taking it and moving it on to other places too.
Well, the Charla
Yours is
Anderson
much more
show,
elegant visual.
Yeah, we're pipe fitters, or the guys get that other one, but we get so we get a cup and saucer. But the Charla Anderson show is weekly, and I would love for you to find me on YouTube and subscribe and like. And for many, I'm past 3.5 into my third season, past halfway. So we got a lot of shows out there weekly, almost every week for 2.5 years. So like and subscribe on Tracy's YouTube, on Charla's YouTube, and let's support each other, lift each other up. My message is unconditional love. I just, let's love each other, and offering and stories of overcoming and offering hope. And I love the ho-ho story because there's a story of overcoming and figuring out that that's not who you are, And I when you were describing it, I'm going, that's not chocolate, it's plastic or wax, That's it. So that wasn't my thing that I went for. I had my own. Thank you so much for joining me today, Tracy, Astle, Tracy Astle. You have brought so much wisdom, and I think it's a huge topic. We are in this diet culture, and nobody's skinnier by being on all these rat traps, or what are they called? Rat race diets that hamster wheels of, you're just learn to love yourself enough to trust yourself, to bless. I think I'll end with this, but I believe when Jesus blessed the food, he's blessed it to nourish us and to use what was good in it and to release what was not so good. And so if we learn to just love and savor what we shove in our face sometimes, just slow down.
And a little pro tip too, when we learn to do that, don't be surprised when we learn to love and savor our life a lot more as well.
In all things, I do believe it, we're all, there's so much connected in all the things. And I know that that's what the whole, comes back to that, the whole body. And so you are enough exactly who and where you are right now. So just love yourself, let us love you, and make it a great, great day. I appreciate you so much, Tracy. And we're going to find out how to shut her down, and see you next week.
Thank you, Charla.
And always, always, always choose joy.